Iain from RTO here. Welcome to another Battle of the Debuts, the show where we take two debut albums of bands of the same sort of genre and compare them. And today we're going to do a bit of psychedelic rock. Both bands involved today, one's from America and one is from the UK. They started off psychedelic and they both went on different paths. One ended up being more stadium music and big shows, and the other band became more AOR and changed their names about 3 times. And the bands we are talking about is representing the United States today. We have Jefferson Airplane, and representing the United Kingdom we have Pink Floyd. Both started off in the psychedelic sort of rock, space rock, and went on in different paths. I mean, Jefferson Airplane became Jefferson Starship and God knows what else. But Pink Floyd obviously stayed as Pink Floyd, and various incarnations. So let's have a look at these two debuts and see how it all started for them. So as usual, we start with the band that come out with their album first, and in this case it is Jefferson Airplane. I mean, they were formed in 1965. They've become one of the pioneering bands of the psychedelic rock, and they defined that San Francisco sound. So Jefferson Airplane's first album is called Takes Off. It was released on the 15th of August 1966. So it is nearly 56 years old, this album. Crazy, isn't it? Okay, playing on this is the original lineup, of course, of Marty Balin on vocals and rhythm guitar, Sean Tully Anderson on vocals and percussion, it's Jorma Kalanen. Still can't pronounce certain words. Lead guitar, Paul Cantor on rhythm guitar, Jack Cassidy on bass guitar, Alex Spence on the drums, and then Spencer Dryden drums on another track. This album was produced by Matthew Katz and Tommy Oliver. Okay, the first track on here is a track called Blues from an Airplane. Yeah. Bass line is pretty good here from Jack Cassidy, and it's a combination of a chill and psychedelic track with a little bit of blues in there as well. It's a really good track. I do like that track. Second track on this one is called Let Me In. Vocals on here are done by Paul Cantor. I like the guitar work here, and it's very 1960s America. Is it psychedelic? No, it's more poppy, that San Francisco sound on that track, but it's a really good track. Then we get It's No Secret. Again, it's a chill out tune. I would say this is in more vein of Mamas and Papas than psychedelic. It's still a good track. There's nothing wrong with that track. Then we get a cover version of a song first recorded by John D. Loudermilk in 1960, and was a big hit for the Nashville Teens and other people went on. It's Tobacco Road. I don't like this version at all. They've mucked about with it, and you just do not muck about with songs like this. It's not very good at all. Then we go on to side 2. First track on side 2 is Come Up the Years. I think this band's still it's one of them tracks of one of them bands where they don't know what direction they're going to go in. Are they going to stay with that poppy sound, or they're going to go psychedelic? It's neither here or there. You know, very confusing. Then the next track is called Run Around. It's got a little bit of 60s groove, a little bit of that psychedelia. Yeah, it's pretty soundtrack. Let's Go Together. Very gentle song, very pastiche. It is a little bit psychedelic. It's not a bad track. Don't Slip Away. Again, I think this is more mainstream 60s pop, although it is a good track. Then we get Chauffeur Blues. This is just pure blues. It's good, but again, it's confusing. We've now got pop, psychedelic, and blues on an album. I'm not sure where they're gonna go. They didn't know what they were gonna do. Then we have the last track, and it's called And I Like It. It's got a great bass line. It's again bluesy and more than psychedelic. It's a good album. I like this album, but it's an album by a band that do not know which direction they're going to go in. There's some really nice songs on here, but when we get Surrealistic Pillow, it was more that psychedelic sound, and that's the way they went at the start before they went poppy and that 80s stuff they did for that film Mannequin. You know, it's sort of very experimental. That's what I think of it. I mean, it's an enjoyable album, but it's a bit. They didn't quite know where they were going to go. So, what did the critics think? Well, as usual, when you get albums like this, there's not much about. In a review for Mojo Navigator R&R News, Dave Harris gave the album a mixed review, saying, "I don't mean to say it comes off poorly, because it doesn't. Marty Balin and Sean Anderson's vocal harmonies are impeccable, and the instrumental parts are well arranged." Who else? There's other people said. Tim Jurgens of Crawdaddy said the album, although being one of the most important of American rock released that year, nevertheless faulted and summarised that it's still a very good record, but we might not have a great one. Yeah, I can go with that. And David Bolin of the Daily Vault considered Jefferson struggling this morning with my mouth. Sorry, folks. Jefferson Airplane Takes Off is a formidable debut album and an excellent, interesting listen. So the stars, All Music gave it 3 and a bit. The Daily Vault gave it a B+. The Encyclopedia of Popular Music gave it 2, and the Rolling Stone Album Guide gave it 3. Didn't chart over here. But on the US Billboard, it got to number 128 in 1966. Okay, let's have a look at the nuts and bolts of this one then. So, song quality. There's some really good songs on there. You can't take that away, even though it's confusing. If we're going to go pop, psychedelic, or blues, they're all good songs, some really good lyrics. So I'm going to give that 4 out of 5. Production, very good production, well arranged songs, some lovely singing on this, and the levels are all not perfect for 1966 time. So I'm going to give production a 4 out of 5. Reception. With most of these early albums, they take a long time to gain some sort of status. It didn't really hit the nail in America. It didn't make any influence over here. But for the time, as time went on, people have now understood this is one of the most important albums in American rock music. So I'm going to give it a reception of 3 out of 5. Cover design, it's alright. It's not the best cover I've seen. It's the band. Gives you a rough idea what's going on. So I'm going to give that a 3 out of 5. So for Jefferson Airplane Takes Off gives us a grand total of 14 out of 20. So let's move on to our next contender, and representing the United Kingdom we have Pink Floyd. Obviously Pink Floyd were founded in 1964 by Syd Barrett, Nick Mason, Roger Waters and Richard Wright. Started off in the underground clubs, become very popular, and then in 1967, on the 5th of August, so it's practically a year later, they released The Piper at the Gates of Dawn. The album borrows its name from a title of a chapter 7 of Kenneth Grahame's 1908 novel The Wind in the Willows, of course, which refers to the good nature of Pan. Recorded at EMI Studios in February to May of 1967, and on here we have got Syd Barrett on the electric guitar and acoustic guitar and percussion and vocals, Roger Waters on bass guitar, slide whistle, percussion and gong, Richard Wright on all the sort of keyboard stuff, Nick Mason on the drums, produced by Norman Smith. Okay, first track on here, of course, is Astronomy. Still struggling. Sorry, I'm really struggling today with my pronunciations. My mouth is a little bit sore. What can you say about this except brilliant? That guitar and the quirky lyrics that Syd wrote. Excellent track. Then we get Lucifer Sam. This is a brilliant track again. Roger's bass line is great. Some great drumming from Nick. Great stuff. Matilda Mother. That's alright. It's got some great keyboard from Richard Wright. It's alright, I suppose. Flaming. This is weird. Syd Barrett was certainly on a different planet from the rest of the world. A very clever man. Then we get Pow R, Toc H. Weird and psychedelic as you get. This is pure psychedelia, and it's madness, but it's an enjoyable madness. Then one of my favourite titles from this era of Pink Floyd, Take Up Thy Stethoscope and Walk. The drumming from Nick on this is pretty good. It's just very, very 60s psychedelia space rock. So that was the last track on side 1. So we turn over to side 2. And this opens up with one of the classics, Interstellar Overdrive. I love the guitar work on this from Syd. Brilliant. Great drumming, of course. Brilliant stuff. Then we get the Gnome, one of Syd's little silly songs. You cannot not dislike this. It's just a pastiche. Chapter 24, psychedelic. They took the psychedelic rock to another level with this track. The keyboards are great. The bass line is really good as well. Then we move on to the Scarecrow. I've never been a fan of this. It's one of the weakest songs on it. Then we get Bike. Stupid lyrics about a bike with a basket and a bell. Classic track from Pink Floyd, but it was a bit bizarre, and a funny track to have on a psychedelic album. To me, this is one of the most important albums of the 1960s, and it did take psychedelic rock to the next level. A lot of people were influenced by this, and I love playing this album. Still do today. Can't, you know, I mean, I've played it a few times. I mean, we've done the ranking of Pink Floyd, we've done a dinner now on Pink Floyd, and now we've put it up against another album. So listening to this is pure pleasure. But that's what I think of it. So what do the old critics think? At the time of release, both Record Mirror and NME gave the album 4 stars out of 5. And Record Mirror commented that the psychedelic image of the group really comes to life. Record-wise on this LP, which is a fine showcase for both their talent and recording technique. Plenty of mind-blowing sound, both blatant and subdued here. The whole thing is extremely well. Cashbox called it a particularly striking collection of driving up-to-date rock ventures. Now, Paul McCartney and Pink Floyd's previous producer Joe Boyd both rated the album highly. Some voiced the opinion that of the underground fans by suggesting that the album did not reflect the band's live performance. There's not many live recordings of that time. I mean, I know there's some coming out now, but I think when you got on Gummer, some of them tracks off this album sound better live. I must admit to that. But in recent years, this album gained even more recognition, of course. The album is hailed not only as a psychedelic masterpiece, but an influence. In 1999, Rolling Stone magazine gave it a 4 out of 5 stars, calling it Golden Achievement of Syd Barrett. So All About Com gave it 4 and a bit stars, All Music 5 stars, The Daily Telegraph 4 stars, Cyclopedia of Popular Music 4 stars, Music Hound 3.5 out of 5, NME 9 out of 10, Power, Pace 9.5, Pitchfork 9.4, Q gave it 4, and Rolling Stone gave it 4. In the charts in the UK, it peaked at number 6, US 131. So the Americans didn't take to it, which is a shame. So let's have a look at the nuts and bolts of this. Song quality. Masterful songs that still have people talking today. 5 out of 5. Production. 1967 production on this. They've always been, Pink Floyd are always pioneers of music all through their career. And I'm going to give that 5 out of 5 today. Reception. Went down a storm over here, of course, got to number 6. I don't think the Americans were quite ready for it. But over here, it's brilliant. And the other thing with this album, when they did the re-release, it still got to UK number 44 in the UK albums. So that's how good this album is. So I'm going to give that a 5. Cover design. I like the idea of it, but I think it should have just been a picture of them, not that swirly, because sometimes you find it hard to pick out who's who. But I like the idea of the cover, so I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. Nearly full marks for this album. So it's 19 out of 20 for the Piper at the Gates of Dawn. 19 out of 20. So, a clear winner today. And I'm going to go and say yes, Pink Floyd have won today by a huge margin. I think what let down takes off is the confusion of if it was going to be a psychedelic album, a bluesy album, or a San Francisco 60s pop album. With Piper's album, it was pure psychedelic rock. They knew what they wanted to do, and they just went out and done it. If Surrealistic Pillow was their debut album from Jefferson, it'd have been a tighter contest, I think, because that album is just pure psychedelic rock, and it would have given this album a really good run for its money. But if you disagree with me, you know what you need to do. Put it in the comments below, or answer the poll, because I can now put polls up on my YouTube channel. So I'm going to put a poll up. Let's see what other people think. But I think Pink Floyd will win this. I'm going to state my reputation, what I've got, that Pink Floyd will be as popular, more popular than Jefferson Airplane. Okay, that's all for this week's battle. It'll be, if you're watching the, if you're going to watch live stream live, there'll be a poll on that for that as well. I'll be back later with album artwork, and this week we're going to look at Australian rock band In Excess. So join me for that later. If you've liked this little show, give me a thumbs up, and if you like what we do on the channel, subscribe and hit that bell. So I'll see you later for artwork. Bye for now.